Everybody, welcome back to Ox Talks. I really appreciate you watching the show today. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share the videos with everybody you can think of, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. We're growing the community, and I'd ask that you hit that subscribe button and help me to keep adding and moving forward. So I appreciate it once again. I want to jump right into a couple of important things that I saw happen today. I see that the stock market closed up again. I just saw from CNBC the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ had its best closing week of 2024. Its best week in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ of this year so far. Gold closed up another $20, all-time high up to, I saw Kitco's price at the close today, $2,578.70 a troy ounce. Silver put on an 85-cent gain today and is now sitting at $30.80 per ounce. I see that Bitcoin as of this afternoon on Friday is back over 60,000. So, hey, you would think everything is fantastic, right? Obviously, we know the markets are, let's say, preemptively gearing up and running up, if you will, based upon the expectation that the Fed's going to reverse course next week at its meeting and start cutting rates. There's no doubt, from my perspective, that's why gold and silver are also rallying. Meanwhile, CNBC this morning, interest payments on the national debt tops $1 trillion as deficits swell. CNBC says the U.S. government, for the first time, has spent more than $1 trillion this year on interest payments for its $35.3 trillion national debt, the Treasury Department reported on Thursday. With the Federal Reserve holding benchmark rates at their highest in 23 years, it says the government has laid out $1.049 trillion on debt service, up 30% from the same period 1 year ago, and part of a projected $1.158 trillion in payments for the full year. Those are staggering numbers. If you think that can continue, even with us having the printing press for the reserve currency, think twice about that. Subtracting the interest the government earns on its investments, net interest payments have totaled $843 billion. And that's higher than any other category except Social Security and Medicare. The jump in debt service costs came as the U.S. budget deficit, the budget deficit also surged in August, edging closer to $2 trillion for the full year. With 1 month left in the federal government's fiscal year, the August shortfall popped by $380 billion, a dramatic reversal from the $89 billion surplus for the same month 1 year prior. And it says that was due largely to accounting maneuvers involving student loan debt forgiveness. That took the 2024 deficit to just shy of $1.9 trillion, or a 24% increase from the same point a year ago. Guys, we cannot have what if you had a 25% increase in your debt year over year? Or your expenditures. I know some things have gone up 25%, but I'm saying overall, you couldn't do it. You're not earning 25% more. At least 99.99% of Americans are not having 25% yearly pay increases. So think about that. Yet the government is able to do it because they just create the digits on a screen. Okay, so we all know this is going to end badly, and this dovetails into the story I want to share with you today, the zero hedge, and it's also the reason for the thumbnail that I kind of set up with the Dollar General and the Ferrari. And I want to give credit to this story from Zero Hedge. It was authored by Michael Wilkerson via the Epoch Times. It's over at the Zero Hedge today. And the title of the article that Michael writes is The Clash of the Dollar General versus Ferrari Economies. And I thought it was a very interesting summary of where things are at, but what is just often not said. You have the stock market doing what it is doing. You have the wealthy doing what they're doing. I was talking to a friend of mine today. He's been on the channel before, Patrick, the watch dealer, and he said that he is moving large amounts of watch inventory. So he said, the wealthy segment continues to buy luxury items, and that was directly from him just a couple hours ago. So this article from Michael Wilkerson says, with equity markets, real estate, and other financial asset values at or near all-time highs, that small minority of citizens who primarily benefit from the Wall Street economy have never been more well off in financial terms, at least on paper, he says. On the other hand, the vast majority of Americans in the Main Street economy, i.e. those who rely on real-world jobs with salaries, hourly wages, and other earnings from their labor, continue to fall further and further behind in both real income and household wealth. For Main Street, personal indebtedness is at, we've discussed on the channel on a video a few days ago, is at record highs, more than $17 trillion in the United States. And savings rates are at near all-time lows. Average real after-inflation income has fallen since 2019. The financial stress on American households, he says, is increasing with each passing month. And look, I see and I read your comments, and I read lots of other, alternative media, data and reports, and they are. People around this country are suffering. And the job market is softening. People are losing their jobs. It says a crisis is brewing. The value and dollar retail stores serve as a good proxy for the financial health of the middle class, he says, and the lower end household. The American consumer is increasingly closing his or her shrinking wallet to anything other than the most essential of items, such as food and fuel. Facing weak sales trends and profits pressured by everything from rising costs to forced discounting and increased theft, shares of Dollar General and the Dollar Tree, he says, have each fallen approximately 1/3 or 33% since the beginning of August. Target had negative comparable store sales over a year before finally turning slightly positive this quarter. Let me read that again. Target had negative comparable store sales for over a year before finally turning slightly positive this quarter. The big box retailers, such as Home Depot, Lowe's, and Best Buy, that sell more expensive discretionary items, have had negative comparable store sales for 6 to 10 consecutive quarters. And again, I've done videos on those as well. Popular restaurants and specifically retailers alike are seeing fewer consumers place smaller value orders. Compare the dismal performance of the fortunes of the luxury goods sector, which he said what he's doing now is comparing that with, for example, LVMH, who owns well-known global luxury brands such as Louis Vuitton, Moet, and Tiffany's, reported 2% organic revenue growth for the first half of 2024, along with operating profit margins significantly exceeding pre-COVID levels. Ferrari, another proxy brand for high-end consumer spending, listen to this, announced revenues were up 16.2%, with shipments of Ferrari vehicles up almost 3% in the second quarter compared to last year. Going from strength to strength, he says Ferrari shares are up more than 58% in the past year. So he says when you compare basically the Dollar General versus Ferrari economies, that reveals stark differences between the two worlds. Wall Street continues to prosper in the face of inflation, slowing GDP growth, and corporate layoffs, while Main Street, he says, on the other hand, is clearly in a practical, if not technical, recession, as good-paying jobs grow scarce. For most Americans, he says things are getting worse, and they know it. According to data from the Federal Reserve, and listen to this statistic, the top 1% of Americans now hold more than 30% of total net worth, while the bottom 50% hold a mere 2.5%. Did a video on that about a month ago where I actually held that chart up. It was a pie chart, and to see it visually like that is literally astounding. Let me repeat that. The top 1% of Americans now hold more than 30% of total net worth, while the bottom 50% hold a mere 2.5% of total net worth. And the article concludes by saying if the Federal Reserve lowers interest rates later this month, again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, as is widely expected, the warp of benefits toward Wall Street will continue while doing little benefit for Main Street. Marginally lower mortgage rates do little to help families when houses are priced out of the reach of most Americans who don't have stable, well-paying jobs to afford them anyhow. True recovery will come from the real world economy, not the financial economy, according to the author. And here's the close. History warns that if this crisis is ignored and the distortions are allowed to continue, the nation risks serious social disruption and upheaval, which will benefit no one, including those who today are not yet feeling the pain. And again, we know that they're very wealthy. They sit in their bunker properties with their high walls and their security and private security and all that protection. But I'm telling you, if this gap continues to widen, folks, there will be no safe place for even those levels and those stratas of society, to hide out. So what is the solution? I always try to come on and give you guys some thoughts and solutions on this one. I don't know. But if the Fed, I thought that was very, very accurate point that the author made. If the Fed does pivot next week, it's not going to necessarily help those that are struggling. It's going to help Wall Street. It's going to help, people to start, those that are in the markets to make more money. So I'll leave it there today. I went a little bit long. I'm sorry, 11 and a half minutes. I thought that was a very interesting story to share with you as we close out the week. Hope everybody has a very a great weekend, healthy weekend. Spend some time with family and loved ones. Give them a hug. We never know what's going to happen. There's a lot going on right now. With that being said, God bless all of you. And again, thanks for supporting the channel. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.